Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets. How you feel about that trade?
On paper, I love it for the Suns. I just think that given where the Suns were, the way this trade went, it definitely enhanced them further. The Rockets were number 2 in the West, so it's hard to be like, okay, they necessarily got better.
And I'm looking at the Houston Rockets. Well, they got Sengun, they got Fred VanVleet, they got some athletic scorers on that wing.
Yeah.
And looking how they lost this year, they didn't have that guy that could put the ball in his hand and say, we know you can do this. Do you think OKC is a dynasty in the making?
No.
No?
We've seen dynasties. And looking at OKC, I don't think they've shown me enough yet for me to say, like, this could be a dynasty. We already said that if Halliburton didn't pop his Achilles, we don't even know OKC even wins that game.
Right. But do you think this is a good direction for the NBA as far as smaller market teams being in the finals this year?
Yes. However, I think that when it's 2 smaller markets in the championship, then that's a little tough. Had the Knicks beat the Pacers, and now you got like the Knicks versus OKC, the energy around the finals would have been different.
What's up, scorers? Welcome back to the channel. Today we got another special guest, my dog, my friend, former Division I player, owner of the brand Legacy Leader, proud father, Ose Akhile.
What's going on?
Thank you,
What's
brother.
Going on? Thank you
for
having me.
Yes, sir, man. So we've known each other for a minute. So this conversation should be super organic and fun. We're just talking some shit together. Well, excuse my language. Talking what we talk. Former basketball player. But now trainer. And there's a lot of Achilles ruptures going on.
There are.
I believe it's been 8 this year. I can't name all of them off the top of the head, but you got, I believe, Kyrie Irving, Jason Tatum, Damon Lillard, and newly Tyrese Halliburton.
Game 7 too. That was
Game 7. Game 7, he was going off. I believe he had like 9.
Off, bro, in the first.
He would have made a big difference in that game. I don't know
how that game goes.
I don't think they win by 20. I don't think
honest.
They don't have that lead.
Yeah.
And I want to say they will win because I was going with the Indiana Pacers.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Personally, that's how I feel. You don't know until it plays itself out, but personally, seeing how they bounced back in Game 6 and knowing what they were capable of, and seeing the ups and downs and the way they gathered themselves back up, started playing back up to their potential in Game 6 and going to Game 7, seeing that momentum, I was like, oh, they got this in the bag.
Absolutely.
And then pop. So, and the thing is, people don't understand, like, not only is it the injury and the loss of the player, but then how that mentally impacts the teammates too. Yep. You know what I mean? I think Siakam talked about that. It was just like, you worry about your dog. You know what I mean? It's very, not even very hard. It's impossible to be 100% present when you see your mans go down. Like, that's somebody you go to war with every single day, on and off the court. Yep. Like, you concerned about your brother.
And then you also had an aspect of guys playing positions or roles they wasn't accustomed to. They were obviously prepared for it, but they wasn't accustomed to. A guy like T.J. McConnell. Yep. Like, T.J. McConnell had a good game, but in my opinion, it was only good for him. Like, because if I was a coach, if I was coaching against the Indiana Pacers, I want T.J. McConnell scoring the points he's scoring because he got to shoot over contested hands. Siakam don't get the basketball. Other guys don't get the ball. So people going crazy like, yo, he killing it. But that's what they want. Somebody got to kill it because it's a professional level. Yep. So somebody got to score it, and somebody will score it.
And that's who you want.
And you want him to score it. And you want him to score it. So it throws everybody off their game plan because it's hard to tell TJ, hey, man, slow down when he's scoring. So now Rick Carlisle, he got to ride TJ McConnell. Pause. So it's I think when you had them injuries like that, it throws the whole game plan.
The whole thing, everything.
What do you think is going on with the Achilles? Do you think it's too many games? You think they playing too many games? Do you think it's dehydration? I'm asking you from a trainer standpoint.
Yeah, I think that what you're seeing is the level of training that players just have in general is more than ever before, right? So people say, oh, it seems as if these players are a little bit more athletic, are faster, more explosive, and what you're seeing, though, is that, in my personal opinion, and not even personal opinion, just observation, is that a lot of these kids are starting to have actual training, and a lot of it starting off early.
Right.
So you have to understand that there's more wear and tear on the body just in general, and from my professional opinion, trainers are like mechanics.
Yeah.
To be completely honest, right? Like, just because somebody can have all the accolades, they have all the experience, et cetera, I could go ahead and still see someone who's working literally with professional athletes and see some of the things that they're doing and how they're doing it and be like, I don't know if that's necessarily the right thing to do.
Right.
Right. So it's like a mechanic. It's like just because someone's a mechanic, it's like when you get a good one, you like, yo, I'm never leaving this person, because finding another good mechanic who is going to make sure that, like, they fix your car properly, charge you a reasonable price, et cetera. Like, that's very difficult to find. And it's like that with trainers, man. It's just the fitness industry and just training in general. There's so many different modalities, so many different philosophies, so many different thought processes and backgrounds people come from. But especially coming with somebody who just has a degree in this, it's just like understanding just simple movement mechanics and how the body works and then what you're trying to achieve. And, the more you know, the more it starts to get simplified. Right. So, you always think about, like, what am I trying to accomplish, what they're trying to do, and looking at everything, not just, within a micro view, but also in a macro view of, like, how much is actually even being put on this person's body in the first place.
Right.
Right. It's performance, but then understanding that a huge part of performance is also recovery. Right. And so there's a lot of that goes into play. And I know, like, for example, like me, I didn't play football. Like, my pops worked in the hospital, and he saw kids coming in there all the time, little kids, bro, broken bones, concussions, and everything. He was like, yo, I know you want to play, but he's like, I'm going to be real with you. As a father, he's like, there's just no way I could put you out on the field.
Wow.
So I didn't get that chance. And like, all my homies, everyone was playing football. So like, my dad's from Nigeria, so I played soccer, I played baseball, I played basketball. Right. Those are my sports, and basketball was the main sport. So you also understand, like, some of these kids also played football too before they got to a point. So there's so many things that go into play. But going into high school, we still weren't, for me, when I was in high school, we wasn't even still hitting weights like that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, it was a lot of, like, plyo stuff,
yeah,
band work.
That's where I was at, too.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. A lot of that comes into play. I'm seeing nowadays a lot of these guys that are now the young kids who are in the pros at the NBA level. Right. There's so much more training, more weights, more things that I think that we're starting to find out that ample. So it's like, basically what I'm trying to say, it's a combination of so many different things. Right. Yes, you have the schedule. Just sometimes where they got back-to-backs, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't know why they did it like this.
Do you think the best way to prevent it is less? Because I coach the youth, coach high school. Yeah. And sometimes I fear for some of the players that I have. There's some of my players, they're playing with 2 different programs. Yep. So there's not a weekend off. They don't have a weekend off. And then some of the parents, they want me to always be playing. I'm just like, dude, when y'all have time to have family time? Right. And when do the kid get a rest? You get a break? I understand that YouTube and Instagram is pushing this idea that your kid needs to be playing in games all the time, looking for his highlights. But the game is pretty simple. Michael Jordan is still considered one of the best players of all time. Well, the best player of all time. And he didn't play 4 or 5 games, 6 games in a weekend. No. Like so I don't understand if someone who flourished in the 80s and still being talked about, 80s and 90s, and still being talked about in 2025. Yeah. Why are we not looking and mimicking that? Why are we saying, hey, let's turn the games up more? And we also seeing the injuries we're seeing. Like, we're seeing star players rupture Achilles. Yeah. Because in my personal opinion, I think this is being overworked.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. I think that it's definitely a lot of wear and tear, and it's coming from a multifaceted of factors. And I think that maybe just from the outside looking in, I don't feel as if they're looking at every single thing that they're doing and looking at it from a macro view and considering how much is actually going into this person's body, especially even not just, okay, your rookie year, now you're going to year 5, now you're 10, like these things add up. Yep. And the way you're training in year 8 shouldn't be the way you're training in year 2. Your body is not the same. Yep, absolutely. You see what I'm saying? Yep. Even with these kids, I feel like the best thing for kids right now should be more preventative injury-based strength training. You know what I mean? Making sure those tendons are strong, making sure they have all the stability muscles.
Would you do that with weights or no weights?
Well, again, preventative-based strength training. So even if I have weights, if I'm having a program, let's say I got these kids for 45 minutes, maybe only 15, 20 minutes really needs to get towards weights. Because the thing is, like, even with us as growing up, we didn't get strong from weights. We got strong from playing at the park, playing against grown men.
Yeah, I didn't start lifting weights
you get
college.
strong within the sport. You can hit weights all day. That don't mean that's going to necessarily translate when you get onto the court.
Right.
You got to have basketball strength.
Yep.
And a lot of that's within the actual movement. A lot of that's taking the contact. Your body's getting used to taking contact. It's just like somebody who works on a farm, never touched weights before,
right,
and they be strong as hell, right? But like they don't lift, but that's farm strength.
Gotcha.
So like basketball strength came from being young and playing against guys who are older, stronger, and faster. You know what I mean? I think that's more beneficial.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Than actually having to hit the weights, especially at a young age. Like MJ wasn't even hitting the weights until he was in with the bad boys.
Yeah.
That's when he really got into like, all right, I do need to actually. But he already had the basketball. He was already naturally strong on a basketball level. So, you know, I think there's the approach, the game has evolved, the players has evolved, the speed of the game has evolved, and I feel like the evolution of the training is not necessarily up to speed. It's behind. You know what I mean?
That's the first
Versus like
okay.
with all the technology, all the science and everything that we have, if anything, the training should actually be more advanced.
And how would what would be the best way to advance it? As far as like give me like a maybe a training example of something as far as a drill, or maybe I don't know, an exercise, I should say.
I'll give you a prime example, right? Like I got a whole bunch of injuries. And
where are your injuries?
I got issues with my knees. I had a torn Achilles, but not from hooping. I actually just had an accident. A glass sliced my Achilles tendon. Wow. I got a fractured L5 that will never be 100%. I got a shoulder injury, etc. So like even when I'm training in the gyms, like today, this morning I was working on a lower body workout.
Right.
So it's like, you know, you see people go ahead and like foam roll and then do some band stretches, etc. I instead of doing those things, I do exercises that work on, for most part, body weight or some level of weighted exercises that increase my mobility through increasing strength.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't think about it. They think about just stretching. But there's exercises where you're actually activating the muscle, but it's the antagonist muscle. So let's say like if, all these muscles, there's going to be one muscle that pulls, and then on the other side of that limb, there's going to be another muscle that does the opposite, right? So antagonist muscle. So it's like if I want to go ahead and increase the mobility in my calf, I can do that by actually using weight to push it into that stretch position and then activating it out of that position. Right, which is a concentric movement, right? Versus just stretching it. Because I can stretch. When I go do my workout, that's not going to translate. Yeah. Does that make sense? So I want to activate the muscle to be able to trigger it, to program it, to move properly within that full range of motion.
Exactly.
Right, and so it's
not new to the body.
No,
when you make that move in the game, it's not new to the body, because that's what usually happens with kids or anyone who gets injured. You're making a move that it's maybe you overdoing that move, or it's just new to the body.
Yeah. And the other thing too is you have to understand is something that we don't see, because when we get the reports on the fan side, right on the back end, we see major injuries. As a trainer, you're going to understand that, and even we've played the game, you have a lot of minor injuries.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You know what I mean? That don't keep you from playing, but they exist.
Yeah.
Right. And so sometimes too, especially talking about from the lower body, right? You got guys dealing with hips, knees, ankles, etc. That's going to also impact the way that their body is compensating in order to perform on the court. Yeah. And that can then lead to a major injury. Right. If those minor injuries are not being taken care of. Yeah. So that's also another thing that goes into play that, the average person is not going to think about. They're like, oh, man, he just tore his Achilles tendon. But it's like, well, what if he had like an issue with his right knee that was bothering him? So his body was putting more emphasis on his left leg to help him explode. And he was doing that for the past 40 games. And then it just took that 41st game where it was like, you know what I mean? But it's really compensating from a minor injury on the other side of his body. Yep. That's very, very possible.
And listen, man, excuse me. I trust your opinion, because when I tore my ACL, you was actually working with me as far as the physical, almost like my physical therapist in a way. And definitely helped me out tremendously. Actually, it started my boxing. I always was boxing, but really got me serious in boxing, made me feel comfortable with my knee. Even though I have a torn ACL, you helped me build the muscle around it. So I definitely trust that opinion. So,
100%.
Or trust your expertise. So, Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
How you feel about that trade? Do you think the Houston Rockets got better in this moment? Which team got better? Did the Spurs get? Not Spurs. Excuse me. Suns get better.
I feel like
or the Rockets.
on paper, I love it for the Suns. Mm-hmm. When I don't want to necessarily say that one team got better than the other. I just think that given where the Suns were, the pieces, the way this trade went, I think it definitely enhanced them further. Right. The Rockets were number 2 in the West, so it's hard to be like, okay, they necessarily got better. However, I love Kevin Durant being with the Houston Rockets. I think Ime Udoka is probably in my opinion, one of the best coaches in the league.
Gotcha.
Like one of the best. When I was watching what he was doing in Boston, and then seeing what he did with that Houston Rockets team, for them to be number 2 in the West with that team, I mean, you watch how they were playing. He got them playing defense, like really, really good defense, playing with tempo, playing together, playing as a team. You know, he has a very good way of being able to develop players and get them to play team basketball, to play physical, and just play defense. Like a lot of these high talented, especially young teams that it's all offense, right? You know, they got this AAU mentality. So he was able to go ahead and take, you know, the athleticism, the length of these players, and then show them how valuable it is to apply that on the defensive side.
Right.
You know, and I love that. So, you know, for Kevin Durant to be in a position where there's definitely key pieces around him, but more importantly, a coach, you know, who can actually set things up. You know, no disrespect, but I just don't think, you know, Steve Nash was prepared to deal with that Brooklyn team. You know what I mean? I think that you having someone who really already has experience in the game, especially from a developmental standpoint, to really put the pieces together would be beneficial.
Yeah.
And then he's coming in there as a vet, you know, with guys who are hungry, guys who have already been winning and just need that extra thing to take it up to the next point. It's like you switching out KD and Jalen Green, basically.
Yeah, you know what?
That's huge.
I like Jalen Green. I think Jalen Green got it, you know, shipped itself out with his performance in the playoffs. It's too inconsistent. I mean, he's an amazing player. Dylan Brooks, you know, he's a good player as well. His defense will be missed, but they got still some athletic. Actually, it won't be that missed.
I don't think it'll be that missed.
Yeah,
bro. I really think it's a KD Jalen Green squad. I mean, who's not going to take that?
Yeah, I totally agree. At first, I'm not gonna lie, the way I looked at KD before this trade, I just felt like he just needed to be around people his age, you know, veterans. A three-headed monster where they're not dependent on him to score, right? But then I'm looking at the Houston Rockets and I'm like, well, they got Sengun, they got Fred VanVleet, they got some athletic scorers on that wing.
Yeah.
And then he's still efficient. He's still 27 points a game, Kevin Durant.
No, easy.
And I'm looking at the Rockets and looking how they lost this year. They didn't have that guy that can put the ball in. Put the ball in his hand and say, we know you can do this.
Yeah.
Right? They thought it was Jalen Green, but then
he
he gave you 6 points. You know, that's not going to be Kevin Durant. So
Jalen Green, as a Warriors fan, Jalen Green gave me very much Jordan Poole vibes. Like Warriors Jordan Poole.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? Whereas like Jordan Poole had them games, bro, where he go off.
Right.
But then it's like
disappear.
Then you got games where you it's not hidden and you don't know how to affect the game in other aspects.
Yeah.
And now it's just kind of like you go invisible
when
we need you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like it gave me very much that vibe. Where it's like KD, bro, that's consistent.
Yeah.
Like no matter what, that's consistent.
Yeah, I believe the Houston Rockets got better.
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously, like you said, they was number 2 last year. So the next spot is number 1. I mean, they beat OKC, which is still you have to be proven. So they definitely got better in that area. You know, they got defenders all around. So KD won't be responsible for defending anyone. And he just got to play his game. And he's a professional. So I don't think he's going to be a thing where he's a ball hog and he's messing up the flow. I believe they're going to respect him as who he is, a veteran. And then there's going to be nights he can probably score 19 points and let everybody else do their thing.
What's the first time since the Warriors, bro, where he'll be on a team where he gets to just beat KD?
Yep. Absolutely.
And when he gets to beat KD, that's when he's at his best.
Yep, absolutely. KD came in. I think KD is at his best when he's around other people who has the capabilities of putting the ball in the hoop. Yeah, you got a guy like Sengun who can do that, who can pass, who can rebound, who can score. And then you have other athletic guys who going to give you 16 a night from different positions.
Yes,
Anthony Simmons for Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday got traded to the Blazers.
Why?
Yeah, I mean that's what I don't know why. Maybe something younger. You know,
Nah, but that's Drew, bro. Like
yeah.
that, Drew's.
Listen, I
Hey,
say it all the time. Drew Holiday is a Hall of Famer.
outside of trying to create a superstar,
Mm-hmm.
if you looking to create like, if I could do like a my player NBA guard, is Drew Holiday.
Drew Holiday, yes, he's
dude is always a plus when he's on the court.
Always a plus.
Defense and offense.
Two-time champion as a starting point guard.
I don't understand that at all.
I don't understand it either.
So I mean, they upgraded when they took him, when they put him in there instead of Marcus Smart.
Yep.
Like you seen the difference.
Yeah, I mean,
and Marcus Smart wasn't a bad. Like Marcus Smart was solid.
A good player, yeah. But the championship was the result of Drew Holiday being starting point guard.
That's what I'm saying.
So again though, I don't think Drew Holiday even that old. Like he's not that old. So I don't know what Boston is doing. I think they're kind of frustrated, or maybe it's professional sports. They just change things for no reason. You know, they just won a championship a year ago. I mean,
and I also don't think that's what they needed, because I feel like especially on the defensive end, I feel like that's a downgrade.
That's a huge
downgrade.
hit.
And I don't know if on the offensive end you're getting enough from that to mask what you're losing on the defensive end.
I mean, Simmons averaged 17 points for the Blazers last year, but on a losing team.
Yeah. So is he coming off the bench? Like, what is his role? I don't know where he fits in. With that squad.
I don't know either.
That's a very interesting trade. I don't like that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like that trade.
I'm with you on that. They need Drew.
Yeah.
And but we'll see what they got. Do you think OKC is a dynasty in the making?
No.
No? Damn. That was quick. You didn't even think about that one.
I didn't have to, no.
Why you don't think it's a dynasty in the making? They pretty good.
They are really good. I give OKC a lot of credit. Mm-hmm. You have to understand is we've seen dynasties, right? We've seen, especially me, like being born and raised in the Bay Area and being a diehard Warriors fan when we was trash for a very, very long time. You know what I mean? Then we get the We Believe team. And
We Believe team,
which was to me is really no shade to what we've accomplished, but like from a cultural standpoint. I mean, I was at the game where Baron Davis dunked on Karolinko, and when I tell you it felt like an actual earthquake, it felt like an earthquake.
He had that waist trainer on.
Bro.
Shout out to Baron Davis.
Shout out to BD. BD is a cool dude, yo.
Absolutely.
I saw firsthand, a franchise turn it around and start to see kind of like what that looks like with a young team who started to then increase and then start to win and become that actual dynasty. And I see what that actually looked like and what they had to go through. Especially doing it in the West, and looking at OKC. Granted, yes, congratulations to them, winning the finals. I don't think they've shown me enough yet for me to say like this could be a dynasty,
right?
I mean, there's so many things where we're looking at like we already said that if Halliburton didn't pop, his Achilles, we don't even know OKC even wins that game.
Right, 100%.
And that's the Indiana.
It was
and that's the Indiana
7.
Pacers. You know what I mean? So like,
Game 7.
And that's Indiana Pacers. You know what I mean? The series before that, I might be biased, but I don't even know if they get past the Warriors if Steph doesn't hurt his hamstring. So It's like, Mavs is about to come back next year, with Cooper Flag, and if AD is able to stay healthy, like,
you think Cooper Flag gonna be good right away? I think
he'll be effective. I don't know.
On what side of the ball?
Offense? On both. I mean, at that size.
But with that team though, like
at that size.
Kyrie ain't gonna come back probably till January.
Yeah.
Then you got Anthony Davis.
Yeah. I think Kyrie being out in the beginning allows Cooper to get more reps in. Right.
I don't know. I got to see him play on the offensive end.
Yeah.
I got to really see him play. Yeah. Maybe I'll watch him in summer league. My idea might change towards him.
He can play.
I know he can definitely play.
He can play.
But impact the game on both ends, I don't know if he's that good. Right away. Now, development wise, yes. Yeah. But right away, rookie year, I mean,
I'm just looking at just his size and his ability to move.
Yeah, for sure.
I just don't see him. I don't see him being a liability on defense.
Got you. No, I don't think he'll be a liability on defense.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't think.
Which helps. Just having somebody who's just not a liability. They may not be defensive player of the year, but like just not be a liability. That improves the team.
I think he can be a Gordon Hayward.
And Gordon Hayward.
Gordon Hayward
that's
was
what I'm
nice,
saying.
but it took him a couple years to really click. I think Cooper Flag can be Gordon Hayward.
But I think that he could be close to prime Gordon Hayward in a short period of time.
I can see that.
Like his ceiling is not Gordon Hayward.
Right.
His potential, like what he can be, I would say Gordon Hayward to me is like almost the minimum. If he was less than Gordon Hayward, then to me that's a bust.
So, but
like going back to OKC,
yeah, and they got a lot of room for
growth. Yeah,
not only on the court, but we're talking about salary cap too. Sam Presti, this is his third rebuilding year where he got rid of. First one was he got rid of Harden.
Yeah.
Then he got rid of KD. Then he got rid of Westbrook and Paul George.
Yep.
So he developed this team, but they got a bunch of money.
Yep.
They got a bunch of money, and they still got more first round draft picks too.
No, they do.
That's what
they set up real nice.
And that's what I'm telling you.
They set up real nice.
That's what I'm saying. The dynasty part of it.
I just need to see next season,
right?
And see how next season plays.
Because they also got MVP,
right?
Finals MVP.
I know.
Leading scorer.
I know.
And a championship.
I know. But I'm just saying that the path in which it went and how it went, and for us, with all those factors, for us to still sit here and be like, I had my money on the Pacers. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's where I'm saying I need to see next season.
But I feel like I don't know what it is. Maybe we'll discover in this conversation right here. But OKC was leading the league in wins all year.
Yeah.
But everyone still was like, nah, maybe the Lakers gonna win or the Timber. They're not gonna get past the Nuggets. What is about the OKC Thunder that people just don't believe in them?
I personally don't know that because I actually had some conversations, some barbershop talk about this early in the season. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I was telling guys like, yo, you gotta watch out for OKC in Houston. Like them boys.
Yeah, I was banging on Houston.
I was like, yo, them boys is coming. Like these two teams right here, this is about to be the next generation. Like they up next. Mm-hmm. And everybody was like, nah, man. And like everyone's so hung up on the older stars, right? The Stephs, the LeBrons, etc. So I think we're at a place where it's a transition period, and people have not reached that point yet where they can easily just be like, if LeBron's in the playoffs, then it's an automatic LeBron. It's like, no, bro. Like I'm telling you, like these young cats is here. Like they're not just young, but they playing. Like they playing.
Not facts.
You watching SGA, like bro's playing. Like he's not playing around. Like he's here. So I'm seeing their development, and I was already saying at the beginning of the year, like, yo, you got to take these teams serious. So I don't know what it is. I think people are just not used to this. They're used to seeing, the main characters. And it's a transition.
Lakers,
so it's like
Knicks,
your head is you just automatically assume. You know what I mean? And granted, like LeBron has earned the right for people to do that. Steph has earned the right for you to do that. Especially when you got a LeBron and Luka on the exact same team. I'm not gonna fault you, for saying like, oh yeah, I ain't worried about OKC. Right. But like the reality is like, no, you gotta worry about you gotta worry about them for sure.
Do you think this is a good direction for the NBA as far as the smaller market teams being in the finals this year?
Yes. However, I think that when it's two smaller markets in the championship, then that's a little tough. You know what I mean?
Now, is it tough because they don't have – now, SGA is a star player, but people are still buying in.
Exactly.
Right? Tyrese Halliburton is a star player. People are still buying in.
Right.
What if they had undoubtedly superstars on those teams? Like guys you just like, oh, he's a superstar. People are lining up to see him play home and away games. Yeah. Do you think it's still...
That changes things.
That changes things?
That changes things. I'm just, again, going back to thinking about, like, the Warriors and, like, a lot of their battles against LeBron. Mm-hmm. LeBron's obviously, like, this huge name. He's the face of the league. He's LeBron. Mm-hmm. So no matter what team he's on, he's coming in. It's a small market. He's going to turn into a big market. Right? Like, when he was in Cleveland, the whole city of Cleveland economics changed whether or not he's there. Fact. Right? That's a fact. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you be like, oh, Cleveland's a small market. Not if LeBron's on the team.
Yeah, a lot of restaurants was built after that.
So, like, seeing the Warriors who, again, like I said, born and raised and watching the team, it was like that we were, until we proved ourselves, like OKC has to do, right. We was a small market team.
Yeah.
Like, I was a Warriors fan, but I understood early on not everybody around the country was looking at the Warriors the way I was looking at the Warriors until we proved ourselves. So it was like you want to have kind of like a small market team against a big market team or some type of, so you have that like underdog versus, and it gives sports is always still storytelling.
Yep.
And especially in the finals.
Yeah, especially in
the NBA, especially in
Mm-hmm.
the finals. You want that storytelling. And I think that given that OKC wasn't like I said, we haven't been like, oh yeah, they're a dynasty team or they're like solidified.
Mm-hmm.
And you also got the Pacers who no one expected to be in the finals.
Right.
And both of them playing against each other, it kind of was just like, you know, I talked to some of my boys this morning. They were like, yeah, it kind of was just like a regular season game. Like, they didn't even really feel that, like, finals. And then obviously you had the injury, too.
Yeah, I think the injury kind of take it away.
But again, it's just like, you know what I mean?
And then they win by 20 or something like that.
Versus, like, let's say had the Knicks beat the Pacers, and now you got, like, the Knicks versus OKC.
Yeah.
The energy around the finals would have been different.
Yeah, it would have definitely been different.
It would have been different.
There would have been more people talking about it.
That means there's finals games happening at Madison Square Garden. That's a whole nother... And the energy with the Knicks, like, bro, that would have changed the energy 10,000%.
I like these teams being in the finals this year because I believe it could change the culture of basketball, not just in the NBA, but on the lower levels as well, right? The two teams that was developed versus getting a superstar.
Yeah.
You know, playing, the coaching AAU ball, everyone's just running to one team and they just want to play with the guy.
Yeah.
And all the coaches is doing the same thing. Like, let me just get a bunch of good players and not develop them at all. And the parents is believing in the same thing. Like, all right, my kid is playing with this name team, but he don't play a lot. He don't get a lot of shots. I like to see the game go back to development.
Yep.
Right? Like, and the coaches started believing in development. The parents started believing in development. When I was growing up, yes, there were other teams that were probably better than my AAU team on paper or whatnot. But the most important thing for me as a young player was, do I get to develop? Will I be able to make mistakes and then get back in the game? Will I be able to make mistakes? Because sometimes you can play with a really good team, an AAU team, and your mistakes don't even matter. Mm-hmm. Like, you might have 2-3 turnovers, but if y'all winning most of the games about 30 points, you don't even notice those 3 turnovers. So I was on a team where my mistakes matter, and my coaches taught me the right way how to overcome those mistakes.
I agree 100%. Mm-hmm. I mean, I look at my basketball journey around that time, and it was the exact same motivation.
All right.
You know, so I started off playing with the Oakland Rebels. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Dame.
Yeah, shout out to Oakland Rebels.
Me and Dame actually was teammates the entire time. We grew up playing together.
Okay.
And so then the Soldiers came up.
Yeah, Oakland Soldiers.
And then Soldiers were actually the ones who kind of started that on the West Coast of like going ahead and grab. Like they got LeBron. Was like, where's LeBron coming from? Like
they had LeBron on the team?
They had got him for like I think like a summer or something like that.
Really?
So it was like, and then that kind of started it. And then what ended up happening is like everyone on the West Coast, everyone wanted to play with the Soldiers. The Soldiers was every tournament, and they were like the hype.
Right.
Whereas like the Rebels, Rebels had been in Oakland for generations, bro. Like that was like stomping grounds. That was like if you from the town, you play for the Rebels.
Gotcha.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that was that. It was you went through the ropes, and the coaches coached, and we developed. I remember my first game, bro. I was 9 years old, and like one of my best friends in school, he had already been playing for them. He was like, "Yo, like come, you a hooper, like come on this AAU team." So I hopped on the Oakland Rebels, bro. My first game. And luckily, my mom was actually chill because you know how it is get with some parents.
Yep, absolutely.
Bro, I'm telling you,
I got a parent like that.
Coach Melvin. I had messed up the play. First game, obviously I'm 9. Like,
right.
Coach Melvin calls a timeout, cussing at me, yelling at me to come to him. And I'm like walking. Now he yelling at me to run. I'm running over there. By the time I get to him, he throws his head on the ground, grabs me by my jersey, and he's in my face.
Yeah, my mom was not having none of that.
Yo, but like the thing about it was like that I got baptized into the game like that. So you have to understand my mindset after that. I've had coaches do some crazy wild stuff.
Right.
I was when you get that at 9, you can't phase me, bro. I'm gonna just listen. No matter how you say it, I'm listening to like, okay, what is it that I need to change? What do I need to fix? And I'm locked in.
Right.
So, that's not going. I'm not going to say that's going to work for every kid.
It's not going to work for
at
every
all,
kid.
especially not in this generation. It's probably not going to work for none of these kids.
But for 98% of the kids, it won't
that
work
made me, when I said that set the precedence for me and made me a very, very tough player and really focus on my development and that mindset. That was the beginning. And then when I actually left the Rebels, around high school. Again, it came down to development. So a lot of my guys were playing at Bishop O'Dowd, St. Mary's, Oakland High, Berkeley High. I had got an academic scholarship to go to Branson and Marin.
Okay.
Which I didn't want to do that. I was supposed to go to Bishop O'Dowd, but my mom was like, "Yo, I can't afford this tuition right now, and they give me a full ride to go to this good school, and she gonna put academics first." So I went there. So I'm trying to think like, okay, well, how do I get my development? Just so happened there was a guy in our area who was doing these skill trainings. Phil Handy. Shout out to Phil.
Oh, shout out for Phil.
Yo, and then Phil ended up making the AAU team, and like, dog, that skyrocketed my development. And that's when I was doing when he made the AAU team, I was like, yo, been down with the Rebels since I was 9, but like this development that I'm getting over here, this is what I need for my career.
Gotcha.
And so I made that decision based upon that. We was going to tournaments. No one knew Team 94 at that time. You see what I'm saying? People knew who the Rebels were.
What was the biggest thing you learned from Phil?
I mean, that could be a whole nother segment, bro.
Yeah.
But like with Phil, it was a lot of. He even helped me, bro, at my high school. My high school was a prep school in Marin with a bunch of white boys, but we was winning state championships because our coach was like a Greg Popovich,
right?
Like very in tune with the fundamentals. Everything mattered. Like my IQ went out the roof because of my high school coach.
Gotcha.
It was like Princeton offense, but I'm coming from the streets. Wasn't accustomed to that level of IQ and how to play.
Right.
So I was struggling with how to take my athleticism and my skill and applying it to the offense.
Right.
And Phil was the one who really helped me with that.
Gotcha.
And be able to see the game on a high IQ level, but from how we play style.
Gotcha.
Because like those guys, that's all they know. That's how they can score is by playing that way.
Yeah.
Whereas like with me, it was like I could go one-on-one at any time. I could do this at any time. But it's like, how do you fit that into the offense? And that's where like Phil helped me out. Was like, yo, this is how you see the floor. This is how you move. This is spacing. All these different things. It's like, yes, your individual skills, but how does it apply to the actual game? When like the timing of when you do things, et cetera, finding your spots,
right,
and working on like all those things, like. It was, you're getting someone who understands the game at a professional level and being able to break it down to you at a high school level. Like, that was invaluable.
Yeah. I think that's what what the coaching community is missing.
Yeah.
Guys to be able to break things down and actually teach. But it's a 50-50 thing here because the kids also are not interested. Not all of them. There's no statement that I can say that's going to blanket everyone.
Yeah.
But from my experience, as I progress as a coach and the culture is changing, the kids, the parents, they don't want to hear the stuff that you're talking about. Like, yo, my kid can do this. I want to see that on the court. They don't want to hear hey, I got 5-6 guys who can do that. They got to play like this for it to be productive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's like you said, is invaluable if a coach can teach that to kids now, parents, because parents is more involved than ever because they obviously got to pay some money for their kids to be on these teams. You mentioned LeBron playing for the Oakland Soldiers, right? Is that where your hate came from? Or is that where the hate started for LeBron?
Let's make it very clear. Let's make it very clear on the podcast. We've had some very heated conversations, but I want to first give context. I think LeBron is a phenomenal talent. I've never actually hated LeBron. Obviously, yes, being a Warriors fan, and there's that. Okay. But outside of that, I actually don't have no hate for LeBron. I think LeBron is phenomenal. I just don't think he's the GOAT. That is where we differ. But he's still on my Mount Rushmore.
Where does he rank? Oh, is he on Mount Rushmore? I can accept that. I can accept that. I'm not one of those guys who's going to try to twist your arm to tell you, no, he should be better than this guy. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. As long as he's up there.
No, he's without a doubt, bro. He's up there.
I've had guys on the show that say he's not top 10. And it's just like,
get out of here.
Okay, yeah.
That's ridiculous.
That's just weird. Now you're just being weird.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
You're just being weird.
That's ridiculous.
You know what I'm saying?
Now you have a personal vendetta.
Who's your Mount Rushmore?
You know, it has changed sometimes over the years. For sure, there's MJ, There's Kobe. There's LeBron.
Is this the order?
MJ and Kobe is my 1 and 2.
Okay.
That's my 1 and 2, right? Then there's LeBron. Then there's Magic, and then there's Shaq.
Okay. I can deal with that.
Yeah.
I can deal with that. I mean,
yeah. And like I said, sometimes and I think that if my boy Steph can win one more,
so,
you gotta. I'm sorry, but you have to.
No,
you have to.
I don't.
You have to.
I got Allen Iverson
You
over
have
Steph,
to.
bro.
You have to.
Yeah, because listen, Steph was on good teams. This is how good his teams was. He got 4 rings, right?
Yeah.
1 Finals MVP.
I think that's, to me, that's the equivalent of looking at the season MVPs that Kobe didn't get, that went to Steve Nash, that went to I think it was more so political. When I watch those series, I don't see how Steph didn't get the MVP.
Yeah,
I don't.
I do.
Kevin Durant was the most valuable
they
player.
They don't win those 2 championships without Kevin Durant.
Outside of the Andre Iguodala.
And now that's debatable. Yeah. Okay, that could be debatable. The only reason why I say it's debatable off the top of the head because I don't know Andre's stats off the top of the head right now.
I can tell you right now, you go watch that series. That doesn't make any sense.
He made a big difference, though.
But even when Kevin, but I'm talking about most valuable. You can make a difference and make an impact in a game. You can have moments that shifted momentum.
I ain't gonna freestyle this argument. I gotta dig a little deeper.
It's okay.
Pause.
It's
and
okay. It's Steph versus Andre Iguodala. I think it's.
And I'm gonna do a special clip on this. I'm gonna tell you who deserved it. Right. I'm not a biased person. I don't have no dog in the fight. I like Steph. Steph definitely changed the game. I think they came from a small school and became the person who he is. Now he has some
also changes the way people play defense, bro. Like that's what people don't even understand.
For sure.
Like, even KD, when people say, "Oh, KD got the MVPs," but I'm like, when you still watch those games and you see how defenses are gravitating towards Steph, you have now Steph and KD on the same court. Like, to me, it's still. I'm like, you could have went either way. You could have given it to KD, but you also could have given it to Steph, even if KD had different sense. So I'm looking at how defenses are playing Steph.
Right.
Like Steph, everyone gravitates. So if a player is gravitating, and then the second option is Kevin Durant's about to go off, right? You look at the Olympics. It's like Steph is shooting a fadeaway 3 with 2 hands in his face with LeBron and KD with their hand up, and you're not mad.
Right.
There's no way a player can do that. Like, that's an iconic picture to me. There's no way you could do that.
No, Steph
and
is
not try to talk about him being one of the greatest players of all time. Like,
no, he's definitely one of the greatest players of all time.
That's what I'm saying.
And so he's definitely different. You know, the way I rank my top 5s and whatnot, I just look at the guys who made impact immediately.
Facts.
Because that's harder to do, right? Like Steph had to develop. Kobe had to develop.
Yeah.
LeBron came in and he's immediately
Day one.
This kid is coming in from high school and with a lot more weight on his back. I mean, he coming in during a mass media time where, the social media era started to come and now magazines and there's more networks that's picking up NBA. You're seeing this kid at 11th grade, the chosen one, on the biggest platforms like ESPN, and carried it gracefully. Carrying it gracefully.
The most pressure than any NBA player.
Yes.
Period.
So that's how I look at some of my, all of my top 5. Like a guy like Shaq. Shaq did the same thing. Came in immediately, averaged about 21 points his rookie year. Made an immediate impact on not only the game but also culture. When you look at any heavyset guy who comes outside, you baby Shaq. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I like your top 5.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at that.
For me, it's just strictly just dominance.
Yeah. So legacy leaders.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, that just switching out of basketball, that's going into the second part of my life and becoming a father.
Right.
And I got married young. I had kids. I got married at 23. My first kid came about 26, 27. And I didn't really have any examples of like what that really looked like. And funny enough, I guess it does translate. I had very much adopted an athlete mindset to becoming a father.
Right.
And so I looked at things differently. I wasn't just going through the motions. I wasn't, I didn't have like any type of like victim mindset or, or whatever. It really was just, I was constantly the same way. We sit down, we watch film, we practice, try to get better. Like, I applied all that to being a dad.
Right.
And like, even I got 3 daughters pretty much back to back to back, and I was looking at them not just collectively but even individually, and just like how do it's like a coach and a player, and it's like, how do I'm looking at it like, okay, what am I doing, like what can I do better, and like constantly have this reflection, and like, you know, how can I improve individually, how can I help them improve individually, and all these different things. And when I started getting around other dads, I realized that wasn't really the culture. You know what I mean? I wanted to change that. And so when I dissected it, I realized that the one area that I could help fathers that could impact everything else was just helping them become better men. Right? So you think about just personal development and leadership development with these men.
Right.
And so that's what Legacy Leaders is about.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you think fathers get the credit that they deserve? I mean, you get Father's Day just passed. Most fathers, they expecting socks, a tie. They don't even wear suits. Do you think fathers get the respect they deserve? And let's talk about especially black fathers.
Yeah. I think that people will never truly understand the value of fathers until they're dead and gone.
Wow.
And I think it's a harsh reality, you know, and I wish that it could be different. And I think that, you know, there's more and more conversations around it.
Yeah.
But I think the conversations really allow people to truly see the true worth.
Right.
Right. But no matter how much we talk about it, I still think it's just like, you know, it's not father's like not the flashy car. They're the car that's just that Toyota that just 200,000 miles on it, and it's still like no one appreciates that car until it's gone. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's one of those things, right, where it's just like, yo, like fathers, man, is it may not be flashy, but you always know when the dad's there and when the dad's not.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. That's very, very
And
true.
that's undeniable. And the stats show it. I think I saw some stats around Father's Day talking about how like they were looking at kids that had like either like criminal activity, and dissecting like, you know, the household environment, and they realized like, yo, the kids turn out better that had fathers in the household.
Right.
So much so that it was didn't matter whether or not the mom was there. They're like having 2 parents and having a father, single father, was the exact same results.
Wow.
That like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I
So I'm
totally
like,
agree.
yo,
'Cause I can imagine
yeah.
that because of the emotion. I think men are more logical when they have fathers or men who are like fathers in their life. Men think with more logic. When there's more
structure, more reasoning.
More structure, more reasoning. When that's not there, it's more emotional.
Yep.
And there's a lot of men behind bars today because they thought out of emotion.
1,000%.
Yeah, and
1,000%.
a lot of
the most dangerous man. The most dangerous man is the man who cannot control his emotions.
Absolutely, and I think fathers is very valuable. I mean, my father been in jail my entire life, you know, until this day. So, but we still have good conversations, and we still, you know, talk when we can, whether it's letter, whether it's over the phone, and just the information and advice he given me over the years has guided me to this far. Yeah. You know, so I can imagine if he was free and my whole life, where would I be? All the mistakes I would have jumped over or missed because he would have been able to guide me. A lot of mistakes I think about in my life that happened, especially like even on the basketball end, where just taking $1,200 from financial aid just because I needed the money, and because I did that, I lost a year of eligibility, so I couldn't play Division I when the University of Houston was calling. Yeah. So those little things, a father was needed in those moments. Or not little things, those big things, a father was needed.
I'm right there with you, bro. Like I said, my parents divorced when I was 2. And the older I got, the less and less time me and my pops spent together. Gotcha. You know, and especially as a black man, you know, I think that you and I, we talked about this before. We were very blessed with the ability to learn from mistakes. Yep. And I think that's why we still came out the way we did. Yeah. Right? Because we got other guys around us who, you know, dad wasn't there, and you just keep making the same mistakes over and over again. Yep. Where you're able to learn from the mistakes, then you give yourself a chance to win. Yeah. Right? You start learning how to father yourself. And you know what I mean? And you're like, damn, okay, like how can I do this better? This didn't go right. Like, let me adjust. You know what I mean? And I think that, but like again, like you know, I already think like there's so many times right now at my age, you know, being married, having kids, where I'm like, dang, bro, my dad said this when I wasn't really messing with him. Like, yo, like he was right about this, or he was right about that, and he was right about that. But like, I didn't get to spend a lot of time with him, so it's like them seeds didn't always get to dig deep into the ground and kind of on the surface. Yeah, you know what I mean. I could imagine if I had him 24/7.
Yeah,
know what I
the
mean?
father mentorship and the advice that comes from a father is always his later.
Yep.
Like, it's not,
Yep.
I feel like your mom, she's gonna give advice that
Now.
the now advice. The dad's going,
Yeah.
it's gonna be the advice that you don't like,
You'll learn later.
and you'll learn it later.
You'll learn later.
But man, let us know where we can follow you,
Yeah.
and where they can find all your work and where they,
Yeah, absolutely.
all your socials.
You can follow me on Instagram, Ose __ Akhile, AKHILE. And then in my link in bio, I actually have a free online community for fathers,
Yep.
for legacy leaders, and I have a whole bunch of resources on there. Behavioral design, productivity, focus, mental wellness, workout programs,
Yep.
nutrition plans, like literally everything to help you become a better man is on there. And then obviously just the networking of the group itself too.
Well, man, listen, man, we
Yeah.
appreciate your time. We appreciate your wisdom. Appreciate your night. We had a nice little friendly debate. It wasn't too crazy today. But there you have it, another interview on the Score Society channel. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, let's continue to think elite and together. Welcome to Score Society.